Hello everyone, welcome to our interview with Fstream. Projects like the Deutscher Preis for Wirtschaftskommunikation would not be possible without strong partners, and that's why I'm especially happy today to be joined by Alex and Evgenia of Fstream, the founders of Fstream. Thank you so much for supporting us and for being part of this journey with us.
Hi everyone.
Thank you very much for having us. We're very happy to be sponsors of such an incredible program, and we really appreciate the dedication that the students have for this program. So very happy to support that as well.
Thank you. And for those who may not know Fstream yet, how would you describe what you do?
Well, Fstream does a lot of things, but our main goal is to help our clients to increase their sales numbers, sales revenues, and decrease the costs with the help of implementing the right IT infrastructure.
And what would you say are the values or principles that guide your work?
First of all, it's the innovation. We devote a lot of time to making sure that we stay on top of the latest developments, that we help our clients implement the state-of-the-art solution. It's very important also that we stay very transparent with the costs. This is what we are priding ourselves for. And of course, we provide very scalable solutions, and the product quality that we suggest is also our pride, which means that we make sure that the product that we provide works and develops together with the company.
Okay, great. And you are a CRM consulting firm, among other things. Maybe for the viewers who are watching right now, at first, what is CRM?
Well, it's very important to understand that the notion of CRM has changed. And also we notice that for some of our clients, it means something else than what it originally meant. So CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. What we, however, work with is not just a CRM, but what we usually work with is rather platforms. So systems which allow development on top of certain pre-configured platform that usually includes CRM, but can have much more parts to it.
Okay. And Fstream was recommended by Salesforce. We were faced with a database without any real structure with very messy data and no processes that really supported our project workflow. We first looked at our situations at work and what stood out to you the most.
Well, frankly speaking, not a lot of things stood out because there were quite a few things that were set up wrong. And essentially, you guys made all the typical mistakes that companies usually conduct when they implement Salesforce by themselves. So because you didn't know the best practices, the data model wasn't set up correctly, which essentially leads to the, like you put it, data mess. And then there were quite a few issues with the usability due to very unfriendly user interface. And clearly a lot of things which come out of the box were not used and should have been used. And those are just a fraction of very typical mistakes, which we also noticed in your work.
I also want to add here, the path is pretty much the same for every company which doesn't have the platform knowledge or the product knowledge. Everyone is excited about the new tool. Everyone, especially if you have someone who wants to play around, who has some experience, a little experience, and they are pretty excited. They want to implement this fancy thing, that fancy thing. They want to start with automations, with new fields or new customizations that they previously never had. And then while playing without the platform knowledge, they start to, first of all, implement something that is completely wrong, especially in terms of data model, for instance. And then while using, they're forgetting one part, they're trying to implement the new one without understanding how it works. And then it snowballs into the mess, as you said. And afterwards, they have to fix things because they already do have data, and this is fragmented. Like they have fragments of this and that year, which was never used or used by some users or some departments, and then we come to the situation when we have a problem with data.
Yeah, that's a very accurate description, I think, of what was happening with us, with our Salesforce board.
That's good that you admit it.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Yes. And what do you think are the risks attached to working with systems that are this cluttered and messy, not structured well enough?
Well, the first one is on the surface, right? So it's like Germans like to say shit in, shit out. If you have a data model which is not structured properly, if you don't have certain rules and other ways that you can make sure that the data that comes in is a proper data, then clearly there's very little use of that data, which means you cannot really report or like have proper reports. In other words, you can have reports, but what they will show you will be very misleading. So your analysis is very limited. And essentially, what do you need a CRM system for if you don't have proper data there that you cannot work with? So this is the biggest risk that you're endangering, which is then related to basically wasting money. So if you want to have a proper ROI on your investment into the CRM system, it needs to be set up properly.
Actually, this is really, as Eva said, this is really straightforward because whatever you have in the end is data and how you operate with data. And the more details you can get from your data, the better the processes could be aligned and the better the business could be run and so on. But you can also think of it as a library, yeah, because we have like basically an object-oriented approach pretty much in every business. Whatever you have in your real life, like you have your real papers, your real invoices, the same we would have in the systems we work with. And if you have mess in your library, that means that it will take more time. If you don't have a properly database structure, it will take more time for your people to find the shelf where the data is. And then you need to understand, is it correct? Do we have any mistakes? And the problem here is that you will spend like a lot of time to understand where the mistake is and if you have it at all.
That's a really good analogy, I think, a messy library compared to a messy data system. And how would you say do you usually approach project where that is the case? You have a messy library and like structures and processes that aren't aligned with the project or the business itself. Like what's the first step you take?
This is a very important question because we stand out, I would say, from all the other companies around that are doing the implementation of the consulting and Salesforce or other CRM systems, with the fact that we do take a lot of time to do a deep dive into understanding the business of our clients. Mm-hmm. So we really document everything. We understand the whole information flow, all the business processes, all the operational processes. So it's very important for us to first get a very clear picture of what's going on the business level. And then our job is to transform that into the solution that we provide to our clients that is customized and basically reflects all of those processes, helps increase the efficiency and the effectiveness. So the first step is to dive deep into the processes and understand them on a very deep level, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, there are a lot more involved. It depends on the company. More or less, the process itself is the same. As I said, we always start with a deep dive. Yeah, but the deep dive itself also contains a lot of blocks in between. We would have the overview of your whole entire infrastructure. Nowadays, no one works with one single tool. Mostly you have a combination of those. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 30. Depends on how big your company is, what actually do you do. So we also take a look because we started with the question what the CRM is right now. Yeah. And it's not only the customer management, but it's marketing, engagement, support, and all of this stuff like that. And that's why we also need to take into consideration like what we need as a part of our area and what should be dragged out of it. So we also take the deep dive into all the configurations of other systems, like integrations, and this is like one of the biggest part of it as well.
Mhm. I remember our deep dive, and I remember thinking if I understood our project way better after talking with you, talking it through, and seeing it from like a very different point of view, written down basically in a system, or for us it wasn't written down yet. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's obvious there are things that are unknowns to you. Yeah, and when you talk to someone who is experienced enough in field, then you understand your product, your setup better from a different perspective. The same would happen if we would talk to someone who is experienced more in legal stuff, which I am, for example, not experienced in, and I will understand my business better. And so, yeah, talking to professionals is one of the key things in running and operate your business the best. So,
I would also add here that this is also a very typical result of our deep dives, because a lot of times we also noticed with our clients that after we do that deep dive and we document everything, a lot of our clients are also learning a lot about their own business processes. First of all, because certain questions they wouldn't even ask themselves. Secondly, because a lot of times there's one person responsible just for this particular department and for this processes, and there's no understanding of the entire flow. And by doing this deep dive, by documenting everything, by providing our clients then with the documentation and understanding of the entire flow, we actually add also a very big value for the businesses so that they can also analyze their processes better.
And we talked about the problem, the situation, and messy data structure. And what do you think changes most when structure and clear processes have been implemented?
Well, everything that we just discussed, right? So first of all, when the proper processes are implemented, you can increase the efficiency of your users. That's clearly so. Secondly, of course, if the proper data model is implemented, if you also have certain other tricks like validation rules or other ways to make your users input the proper data, then you can report on the data. You can analyze what's going on. You can do forecasting. So essentially, you are using CRM or whichever platform you are using for its own purpose, and you are benefiting from having a tool, and you're not just wasting your money paying for the licensing.
so as I said, it's pretty obvious because you have to report in your data. The thing is that the proper database or data model itself also is transferred to the time that people spend on submitting details they really care about and have it properly done. Because one of the very common mistakes that every client has that we work with is incorrect data type, which is non-reportable. Or let me give you an example. Now we have, for instance, things like pick lists. Yeah. And many of the clients have the same mistakes. They have pick lists with yes, no values. If there is a way to do it better, for example, to do a checkbox if there is no need in a third value. And this type of mistakes always bring us to non-reportable or not good enough reportable type of issues in many businesses. Yeah.
I think there's one more very important point that we are missing here, and I'm already tipping my toes in your waters, Alex. It's also sometimes very difficult to expand your system, meaning build integrations if you don't have a proper setup, right? So you need to have a proper data model. If you, for example, want to build integration, let's say with an ERP system between CRM and an ERP system. So proper setup allows you to do that much easier. I mean, it's never super easy because we know integrations are tough. But when you have a proper setup, then it's much easier and much more scalable as well.
And many teams, many organizations face the same challenges we did with messy data or missing processes in their CRM system. And what would you tell these organizations? What would be the next step for them to start fixing those mistakes?
Yeah, the first thing is the obvious. You need to find someone who is the professional who knows this area, right? So we've seen quite a few times that companies would have some sort of IT specialist or someone that they would have dedicated to, for example, running the Salesforce department. But if the person doesn't really have experience and just goes through some YouTube videos and doesn't really haven't seen other organizations with the setup, doesn't know the best practices, then most certainly they would make some very typical mistakes. So the first advice is to speak to a professional. It doesn't have to be an external professional, might be an internal one, but it's very important that you speak to someone who's experienced in setting this up.
I would say on top of this, in the end, what we do, we combine the engineering knowledge with the business related knowledge. Yeah, what we need to do is transform your business targets or requirements into the technical requirements, align on this, and then with the help of our knowledge, which is, as I said, a combination of engineering and business knowledge, we, considering the platform or system that you use, we implement it properly, because everything starts with the database. If there is a way for you to adjust the database, which is the case in most systems, but this is the fundamental. Yeah, this is something that every system starts with. And if you do a mistake on that layer, then you would have every layer improperly configured.
So now, speaking more generally, what do you think are challenges in your industry currently in CRM systems that users should be aware of right now?
Let's start with the question, which users are we talking about? The users who are managing or doing the administration part of things, because there are users like that mostly in every type of business. You have a dedicated person who is configuring or supporting or doing maintenance of the system. Or we are talking about the actual employees of the company who do the hands-on work. So who are we talking about here? Everything is evolving like very quick. We have a very fast cycle, short cycle of development. A lot of features are coming, a lot of features are retiring. And this process is repeating like every 3 months, every month, depends on the system. A lot of things are changing, and you have a lot of information which you need to consider, which you need to check. So it's a life cycle which you have to treat as a part of your work. And this part is normally ignored, or it's kind of outsourced. Yeah, when people are rather emailing someone with questions rather than taking this part of responsibility, because it's also important that you keep and maintain your system and keep it in a good shape. And there are a lot of things that are changing during the time. So the changing environment, I would say, is one of the key challenges, and it is getting worse.
Mm-hmm. But how do you, as a firm, adapt to these changes, and how do you support your clients during these changes that happen?
I mean, we devote a lot of time to making sure that we stay on top of these things. We really reserve time almost every day to stay aware of what's going on in the industry. And then we also implement a lot of the innovations. Once the whole AI topic has exploded, we started working with it right away. And I think we were one of the first ones, for example, who implemented the AI agents that Salesforce has released as a product. We implemented a sales coach to one of our clients while the product actually was not even so ready to be implemented. So the short answer is yes, we make sure that we always stay on top of things, that we dedicate time to going into depth, understanding and learning some new tools. But one should probably also remember that this endless race for new tools, new releases, and so on, it's very difficult to keep up. So our approach is to really understand the fundamentals of that, and that's what we have Alex for, our engineer, to make sure that we really understand the fundament on which all of those tools are being built. And this helps us to stay on top of a lot of releases, a lot of new tools. And of course, it's impossible to have an overview of everything that is being released every day, but we do our best to be aware of all the major trends so that we could also help our clients choose the ones that make sense for them and then help implement them.
Okay. And talking about trends, you already mentioned AI as a trend. Do you see any other trends in the industry right now that are important to know about?
Besides of AI? Well, there are a lot of things like as trends, but yeah, for sure, AI is something that changes the market super fast, rapidly. And the bigger problem here is that even your imagination is not enough to predict what's gonna happen. But I would like to focus on one thing here is you don't need to start with the new feature before you admit the business problem. So whatever you're trying to do should start with the actual problem you need to solve. And then you check what tool do you have in the market, which could be used to solve the problem. But if you reverse the approach and you start with the idea that, hey, guys, we have a lot of things which are on the market. Let's try this one. Let's try that one. Everyone is talking about AI. Let's put AI in the loop. Let's do the AI agents in our company. But if you don't have an understanding what business case you are trying to resolve, then most likely you are the what's it called, the juicy piece of the like marketing target audience. So yeah, you need to like kind of pause a little, take a deep breath, and then start with the question of what is the problem that I'm trying to solve.
Okay. And what would you say what role can AI play in creating a more reliable and faster execution for businesses?
I would take over. So you asked about the reliability, and I think this is the wrong question to ask, to be honest, because I mean, essentially AI currently, like if you look at how it works, when you are chatting and you are asking, for example, AI, whether a picture that you are showing to it is a dog or a cat. So what it answers to you is the probability, right? So it's going to tell you, okay, it's 98% that it's a dog. So, which means that asking about reliability, about something that gives you the percentage of the estimation is just the wrong thing to ask. So, in my opinion, it's very important not to, deceive yourself with the notion that we can 100% rely on something, on AI at the moment, at least not at the moment, for sure not. But clearly, when working with a human together in a tandem, this gives you a huge boost. So a human can be, I don't know, at least 30% more efficient when it comes to working with a CRM system when AI is in place, right? So everything starting from certain routines to sending automatically certain emails and so on. So there are a lot of applications of AI in the CRM system, but when it comes to reliability, I believe that it's, at least at the moment, is very important to still double check so that the human gets still involved, at least into certain key features and key functionalities where AI is involved.
Especially considering that the way we do communicate with tools like ChatGPT, this is the probability of giving you the satisfying answer in the end. Yeah, that's why whatever you ask, you will get an answer which most likely will be satisfying, and it's a huge problem as well. When we were building an AI coach for one of our customers, the problem was to evaluate the result of response in such a way that is critical enough, and the way we got answers, it was something that we had to fix a lot, because it was like, yeah, you did a lot of mistakes, but you're perfect. Yeah, please proceed in this way. And this is also a problem, because you have to train whatever you have on the your data, and also on the processes that you need. Yeah, in the end, we will most likely, most of the big companies will end up with their wrong solutions.
Okay. And we already talked about how there's a lot of new tools hitting the market at a very fast pace, including AI tool, and how maybe AI is not as reliable as users think. How do you help navigate users and your clients that field?
Well, it's very important to understand that today, in this ever-changing environment, it's literally impossible to stay on top of all the tools and all releases. So our approach is to make sure that we understand the trends, and because we understand the foundation and the basics of what AI is, how it works, it basically makes it easier for us to be aware of the trends and the new tools. Of course, not of all of them, but it's easier for us to grasp how the tool works, what is it for, and therefore we help our clients with this navigation. How we can help them? Well, we can present always the options, help them estimate what works for them, what works less, what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the risks related to using this or that tool, and then the client needs to make their own call. However, ideally, the client also has someone internally that understands the basics of how AI is designed.
In talking about AI and what you said that humans are not really capable yet by AI, what do you think will become non-negotiable in the future? So are companies using CRM systems?
The non-negotiable part is always to understand the problem which you want to solve. Yeah. So what is non-negotiable is basically keeping a structure, first of all, and then properly designing the solution which solves a specific problem or issue, or serves a specific target or reason. The concept itself, that's something that will be non-negotiable. All of the rest, unfortunately, is negotiable because things are changing. Yeah, but you have to keep track of your customers' deals and so on. Hundred of years ago, you have to do it now. You worked with notebook previously. Right now, you have the same notebook, but a different way how you do it, different tools, but the concept itself is the same. So yeah, you have to sell more and spend less. This is non-negotiable.
I think there's no such a thing as non-negotiable, to be honest. Moreover, I would say that this is our strength, that to our clients, we always offer options. There is no such a thing. If there's, there's a problem, we always provide them with the solutions, and we're always open to their requirements. So if they tell us what's important for them, we can always negotiate certain things in certain ways we can implement our solution. Of course, we would then flag the risks that are related to this or that choice and this or that option, but there's no such a thing, and we're very proud of that.
Okay. I'm sure people are happy to hear that. Watching this right now, but what do you think when implementing a new tool, especially with AI, are things that organizations underestimate right now?
Risks.
Yeah, and also this unpredictability, just what Alex mentioned before, when we were working with one of the solutions, like a part of this you cannot really predict, because essentially it's a black box unless you train your own LLM. And even then, I think there's still a risk.
It's still a black box. I see the major issue with all of this hustle is that, first of all, risks, but that's complicated topic really. But the second part is expectations. Expectations are very high. Everyone thinks it's a game changer. No one understands actually how it works, what it serves, and this is very important. What we have as a very first part when we talk to client, first of all, we for sure need to understand what is the issue, what they want to implement or solve. But the second part is the expectations that they have. And 99% the expectations are higher than actually things could work for. So, yeah.
And we already talked about risks a lot right now, and new developments, new tools being implemented. But what do you think are the advantages of using new modern solutions for problems?
I mean, first of all, we see the trends that in the newest solutions, the newest tools, the user experience is usually much better. I mean, companies and systems that are providing these solutions, they understand the importance of a good UI, because even if the tool is super amazing and tackles all of your requirements, but the user interface is bad, no one's going to be using it. So, first of all, I would say usability. Secondly, the flexibility, in the sense that previously it was not always very easy to build integration between the tools. Currently, we see that pretty much all the tools that are appearing on the market, they have a relatively easy way to be integrated with other systems. And this pricing is still rather affordable, because also there's so much competition on the market.
Regarding new tools and new solutions, I would make it a bit more down to the ground. First of all, if you don't change, you die. This is the problem which Europe right now is facing, unfortunately. A lot of companies are still in the fantasy world that they're gonna survive like this forever, which unfortunately is not the case, or fortunately is not the case, because you have to adapt to the new things, or the market will change you, and most likely you're gonna be pushed away. And the old way is over. This is something that people need to realize, especially talking about AI.
We talked a lot about AI tool. Is there any new tool that you implemented recently you find really exciting?
Well, we didn't implement a tool, but what we did lately, we've been working with AI agents a lot. We've been creating AI agents. One of the favorite projects was with a client of ours, which has a very difficult sales process, which involves a lot of steps. And so for our clients, it usually takes a lot of time to prepare their sales agents and train them so that they could start their job. So what we did, we created an AI agent which became their sales coach, meaning that for those who just joined the company or for those who need some training, they don't need to take their colleagues away from their jobs to train themselves. They can practice the pitches, their sales pitches with our AI agent. And then AI agent acts as a prospect. So there's a live conversation between the AI agent and the sales agent who needs to get trained. And during that conversation, the agent can practice all the answers, and the AI agent asks a lot of relevant questions, the questions which are typical for the prospects of our client. And then based on that, at the very end, the AI agent gives that feedback to the trainee, basically the new or experience, doesn't really matter, sales agent, and points out room for improvement. What did he do well, or they do well? What did they do not so well? And his rating, and make suggestions based on the performance. And this is an amazing way for them to train the newcomers as well as the some of the more experienced sales agents within their team, because also every time they have updates to their product, they can immediately update the AI agent, and the AI agent has all the necessary database and the knowledge base to then act based on your information. And that is all done declaratively, meaning that there's no coding involved. One really cool thing on top of that is that the management of our client can then see the performance of their employees over the time. So every time someone does this training, they get basically the feedback and the rating. And then over the course of the time, you can see how they improved, how much better they're doing with their sales pitches. And that transparency is also very important to the management of our client.
And this new tool you developed for your client, the sales training AI agent, and it sounds like it's taken off really well. Do you have any feedback on whether it's like a big advantage for the client?
Yes, we received very, very positive feedback from our clients. They're very happy because now their sales representatives, especially the senior ones, can actually work on selling their product instead of training their younger staff.
What do you think differentiates Fstream from other consulting firms on the market?
Work agnostic, and that makes us very special, which means that even though we are official partners of Salesforce, the platform that we were working with, we're also the official partners of other CRM platforms and systems like HubSpot, Creatio, Pipedrive, and quite some other tools and solutions. And for those clients of ours that do not have a system in place yet, we help them choose and implement the right one based on their requirements, based on their processes, on their budget. We come up with a number of options. We highlight the pros and cons, and then we help them implement it. And that's one of the main advantages. And then what we also do differently is that we're very much hands-on. So we're very much focused on delivering value to our clients. We are very much hands-on and really no overhead.
And if you had to describe what Fstream does in one sentence, how would you use it?
Fstream helps our clients to increase their sales numbers by finding, choosing, implementing, and customizing the right CRM solution.
Okay, thank you so much, Evgenia and Alex, for joining us today and for sharing your expertise with us and for trusting our project so much. We're really grateful for this partnership, and we're looking ahead to the future, what we can do together. And for those watching right now who might be interested in a collaboration with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can get in touch with us via any social media, via our website, or via email.
Okay, thank you so much.